In a dramatic escalation of international trade tensions, President Donald Trump has unleashed sweeping tariffs that are sending shockwaves through North America and across the Pacific. On Saturday, Trump signed executive orders imposing a staggering 25% tariff on most imports from Canada and Mexico, alongside a 10% levy on Chinese goods. While Trump maintains these measures are crucial to address trade imbalances and stem the flow of undocumented migrants and illegal drugs, the move has sparked immediate and fierce backlash from America's largest trading partners. The White House's tariff orders, set to take effect at 12:01 a.m. Tuesday, left virtually no room for diplomatic maneuvering. In swift retaliation, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced matching 25% tariffs on approximately 155 billion Canadian dollars, 106 billion US dollars worth of American goods. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum pledged similar countermeasures, though specific details remain pending. Meanwhile, China's Commerce Ministry announced its intention to pursue legal action through the World Trade Organization while hinting at reciprocal measures. Trudeau, emphasizing Canada's long-standing security and military partnership with the United States, strongly condemned the tariffs and urged Canadians to support domestic products and reconsider travel to American destinations. Mexican officials pushed back against Trump's claims about insufficient drug control measures, highlighting their crucial role in combating the fentanyl crisis. Both nations warned of significant economic disruptions if these tariffs persist. At the provincial level, Ontario has emerged as a particularly vocal opponent of Trump's trade offensive. Premier Doug Ford took immediate action, directing the Liquor Control Board of Ontario to remove all American-made alcoholic beverages from its shelves. A symbolic yet economically significant move given Ontario's annual import of nearly $1 billion in American alcoholic beverages. Ford hasn't stopped there. He suggested potential further actions against U.S. businesses operating in Ontario, particularly in the automotive and technology sectors. Ontario's government is actively collaborating with Canadian retailers and manufacturers to restructure supply chains, shifting focus toward domestic and European suppliers. In a bold political move, Ford has called for a snap provincial election on February 27th, arguing that Ontario requires a stronger mandate to effectively counter U.S. economic aggression. This provincial response, coupled with federal measures, signals Canada's determination to stand firm against Trump's trade offensive. Across Canada, provinces are taking strong stands against Trump's trade war. British Columbia, known for its forward-thinking policies, isn't pulling any punches. Premier David Eby announced the province will stop buying liquor from U.S. states that back Trump's tariffs, specifically targeting Republican-led states. They're also looking at charging higher taxes on American streaming services and tech companies to push people toward local options. To offset any money they might lose from reduced U.S. trade, BC is working to sell more of its farm products and seafood to Asian countries. Down in Nova Scotia, they're hitting back in practical ways. Premier Tim Houston announced they'll double the road tolls for American trucks, making it more expensive for U.S. companies to move goods through the province. Like other provinces, Nova Scotia is also joining the nationwide push against American products. They'll stop selling all U.S. alcohol by February 4th. These moves will both bring in more money for Nova Scotia and make things costlier for U.S. businesses. Quebec is taking a different approach. They're looking closely at all their contracts with American suppliers and plan to penalize those that support U.S. government policies. Premier François Legault suggested they might start buying more from European and Asian companies instead, especially for medicine and building materials. They're also offering money to help local businesses that might be hurt by U.S. tariffs, particularly those willing to stop using American materials. Up in Canada's north, the Northwest Territories is working toward becoming less dependent on U.S. goods. Premier R.J. Simpson says it's especially important for remote areas that usually rely heavily on American products to become more self-sufficient. They're planning to buy less from U.S. companies and are looking to work more with native businesses and other northern countries. All these local moves fit into Canada's bigger plan to fight back with their own 25% tax on $155 billion worth of U.S. products, starting February 4th, 2025. The first round will hit everyday items like drinks, makeup, and paper products, affecting about $30 billion in goods. While each province is doing its own thing based on what works best for them, they're all working together with Ottawa to push Washington to think twice about its trade war. This escalating trade battle is changing how Canada handles its money, matters both at home and worldwide, leaving lasting marks on businesses and shoppers on both sides of the border. While Canadian provinces try different approaches, from outright banning products to hiking infrastructure costs, Nobody's quite sure how deep the damage to US-Canada trade will go, but it's looking serious. The situation took a dramatic turn when President Donald Trump fired off two controversial social media posts just hours after Canada announced its comeback moves. In these posts, Trump not only slammed Canada's trade practices, but also brought back an old, widely rejected idea, making Canada the 51st U.S. state. This came right as the trade fight between Washington and Ottawa was heating up with new tariffs, making an already tense situation worse. Without this massive subsidy, Canada ceases to exist as a viable country. Harsh but true, Trump declared. Therefore, Canada should become our cherished 51st state. Much lower taxes and far better military protection for the people of Canada and no tariffs. In his first post, Trump claimed America pays hundreds of billions to prop up Canada without getting much back. He boasted that the U.S. has endless energy, could make its own cars, and doesn't really need Canadian lumber, a long-running sore spot in trade talks. Trump pitched statehood as a sweet deal for Canadians, promising lower taxes, strong military protection, and no tariffs. This didn't go over well in Canadian political circles. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau quickly shot down the idea, calling it baseless, provocative, and disrespectful to the long-standing friendship between both countries. The Canadian public largely agreed, with many viewing Trump's words as a pressure tactic to win trade advantages. The trade orders include a tough clause. America can raise its tariffs even higher if these countries try to fight back with their own tariffs or other measures. This was clearly meant to stop countries from retaliating and keep the trade fight from getting bigger. But Canada and Mexico's decision to hit back with their own tariffs shows they're ready to stand their ground, even if it means things get worse. Money experts are raising red flags, warning that if this trade fight keeps growing, regular people could end up paying more at stores. Businesses might struggle to get supplies, and all the countries involved could see their economies slow down. Things keep getting more heated, with everyone wondering what revenge moves might come next in this growing trade fight. Trump fired off another social post, taking aim at what he called the tariff lobby, pointing fingers at the Wall Street Journal and other globalist groups, saying they're trying to shield countries like Canada, Mexico, and China. He doubled down, claiming these nations have been cheating America for years through bad trade deals, weak crime control, and drug trafficking. Trump pushed American companies to bring their factories back home to dodge the tariffs, painting a picture of a future American golden age. He admitted there might be some tough times ahead, but insisted it would pay off in the long run. These messages lined up with his recent orders slapping 25% taxes on most Canadian and Mexican goods, plus 10% on Chinese imports. Moves that got immediate pushback from all three countries. But it's Trump's wild suggestion about making Canada a cherished 51st state that's really setting off alarm bells in Ottawa. If you're enjoying our coverage, please hit that like button and drop your thoughts in the comments below. It helps us reach more people, and we really value your feedback. Now, let's get back to the story. While jokes about Canada becoming the 51st state have popped up in movies and TV shows for years, it's pretty unusual and unsettling to hear a sitting U.S. president seriously float the idea. Critics say it's just for show, playing to his base without any real chance of happening. Still, with all these new tariffs and fighting words flying around, people are taking the threat more seriously than ever before. Legal experts point out that actually taking over Canada would need massive changes to laws that are practically impossible to make, like changing the Constitution or completely rewriting international rules. Canadian leaders are standing firm too. Prime Minister Trudeau made it crystal clear. Canadians have fought and worked alongside Americans for centuries, but we remain an independent sovereign country, and that will not change. Behind all Trump's explosive social media posts is a serious trade war driven by different ideas about how the economy should work. The White House is using these tariffs to pressure countries it thinks are playing unfair. Canada, which sells tons of energy, lumber, and car parts to the U.S., has always been close trading buddies with America. But Trump's team claims this friendship helps Canada way more than it helps the U.S., and now American manufacturers and farmers are feeling the squeeze from these new tariffs. American businesses that depend on Canadian materials or sell their products abroad are really feeling the pain. When both sides slap taxes on each other's goods, experts say prices will go up, people will buy less, and businesses will think twice about investing across the border. This hurts both countries' ability to make money. Even if Trump isn't seriously planning to take over Canada, just talking about it is causing trouble with one of America's most important friends, a friend we need for getting supplies and keeping our countries safe. Canada isn't sitting still, though. They're fighting back through trade organizations and the USMCA, the trade deal between the US, Mexico, and Canada, while trying to get other countries on their side. People who watch these things closely worry that all this public fighting could mess up how the US and Canada work together on important stuff like defending our countries, protecting the environment, watching the border, taking care of the Great Lakes, and keeping our skies safe. But there's hope. Word is that behind closed doors, officials from both countries are quietly trying to calm things down. Trump's using a law from the 1970s called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, which lets presidents put on tariffs when there's a national emergency. He almost used it against Mexico in 2019 about immigration, but backed off after making a deal. Now he's using it against 3 of America's biggest trading partners, saying it's about keeping Americans safe. The White House says these moves keep Trump's campaign promises and fix what he sees as other countries getting too many handouts. These new orders go way beyond his first term, 2017 to 2021, when he just targeted steel and aluminum. Now, the taxes hit all kinds of things people buy, farm products, and materials factories need. The money folks are worried. Bloomberg's experts say these tariffs will push America's average tax on foreign goods from about 3% up to 10.7%. They think this will be a big shock to the economy, cutting U.S. growth by 1.2% and pushing up core prices by 0.7%. That's a much bigger deal than when Trump first put tariffs on steel, aluminum, and Chinese goods during his first time in office. When Trump put tariffs on goods before, American manufacturers and farmers got hit with higher costs and lost customers as other countries fired back with their own taxes. Experts say we should expect similar problems this time, with several key impacts. First, consumer prices will climb. With heavy tariffs now on middle-stage products like car parts, machinery, and electronics, U.S. companies will either have to eat the costs, hurting their profits, or pass them on to customers through higher prices. Retailers who rely on global supply networks are warning that prices will go up on everything from household appliances to clothing. Second, the supply chain is getting disrupted. North American manufacturing, especially in the car industry, depends on a carefully connected network of cross-border production. Big automakers like General Motors Company, Ford Motor Company, and Stellantis NV are already raising red flags about how the tariffs on Mexican and Canadian parts will hurt their bottom line, while also preparing for other countries to make it harder for them to export their products. Third, farming is in trouble again. U.S. farmers who already got knocked around during the first trade fights are worried about another round of payback taxes on key exports like soybeans, pork, and dairy. Back in 2018 and 2019, China, Canada, and Mexico targeted farm products to hit back against steel and aluminum tariffs, causing farm incomes to drop dramatically and forcing the White House to offer billions in emergency support. Fourth, inflation and interest rates could spike. If these tariffs stay in place, the Federal Reserve might need to raise interest rates more aggressively if inflation heats up. This could slow down business investment and reduce consumer spending at a time when the U.S. economy is already struggling with high government debt and patchy job growth. For energy imports from Canada, including oil, gas, electricity, and critical minerals, there will be a smaller 10% tariff instead of the full 25%, showing how much certain parts of the U.S. rely on Canadian power supplies. The White House says they're keeping energy tariffs lower to stop gas prices from jumping too high for American consumers. But oil industry experts warn that even a 10% tax on Canadian oil could cause problems for Midwestern refineries, which depend heavily on Canadian supplies and can't easily find other options quickly. The government also closed a loophole that used to let small packages worth less than $800 enter without tariffs. This means Americans who buy cheap stuff online from Canada, Mexico, or China will now pay more as these purchases get hit with the new taxes. Trump's orders include special rules that let his team raise tariffs even higher than the initial 25% and 10% if these countries fight back. Canada, Mexico, and China have already said they'll respond with matching measures, creating uncertainty for businesses that need stable trade relationships and rely on agreements like the USMCA. Europe might be next in line. While they weren't named in these weekend orders, Trump often talks about Europe's trade advantage over the U.S., especially in car exports. With major economies reacting to Washington's latest moves, there's a real risk this could turn into a bigger global trade fight. Looking back at Trump's first term, 2017 to 2021, tariffs were a big part of his America First plan. At first, these helped some manufacturing sectors bounce back and highlighted what Trump called unfair practices. But over time, they made things more expensive for manufacturers who need imported materials like steel and electronic parts. They also led to other countries targeting U.S. farm products, which hurt farmers' income so badly the government had to bail them out. The stock market got shaky as businesses couldn't predict future trade rules. While the economy grew steadily at about 2.5% per year before COVID, business investment started cooling down, partly because nobody knew what would happen with tariffs. Now, economists are worried because these new tariffs are much bigger and target 3 countries that make up almost half of everything America buys from abroad. This could cause much bigger problems than before. Thank you for staying with us through this analysis. Your engagement truly matters to us. If you found value in our breakdown of these complex trade developments, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us continue bringing you detailed coverage of important economic and political developments.